सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु
सहनौ
सह
भुनक्तु
वीर्यं करवावहै
करवावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा
विद्विषावहै
विद्विषावहै
शान्ति शान्ति
शान्तिः।
हरि ओम् ॐ तत्सत्
Om Tat Sat. Om
ॐ
Namah Shivaya.
नमः शिवाय।
So we were on Anuvaka number 5, Taitriya Upanishad, Brahmananda Valli, and we were looking at the first 4 mantras of Anuvaka number 5, and we had just finished Brahma Jeshtam Upasate. This is all Samashti, Devatas supplying on Hiranya, meditating on Hiranyagarbha. Now we look at the Vyashti, Samashti, Aikyam. So we will chant from there to the end of the Anuvaka, from that Vijnanam Brahma Ched Veda. So let us chant. Vijnanam Brahma Ched Veda.
विज्ञानं
Brahma-ched-veda.
ब्रह्मवेद
Tasmat Chenna Pramadhyati.
तस्मात्
Tasmat-ched-na
केन
pramadhyati.
प्रमाद्यते
Rire Papmano Hitva.
Sharire
शरीरे
papno
पापनो
hitva.
हित्वा
Sarvan Kaman Samashnuta Iti.
Sarvan
सर्वान्
kaman
कामान्
samashnut
समश्नुत इति
iti.
Tasyaish Eva Sharira Atma.
Tasyaish
तस्यैष
eva
एव शारीर
atma.
आत्मा
Yaf Purvasya.
Yah
यस्य
purvasya.
पूर्वस्य
तस्माद्वा एतस्माद् विज्ञानमयात्
Tasmat
तस्माद्
एतस्मात् ज्ञानमयात्.
एतस्मात्
अन्योन्तर आत्मा आनन्दमयः
Anyontara
अन्योन्तर
atma anandamaya.
आत्मानन्दमयः
तेनैष पूर्णः
Tenaisha
तेनैष
purnah.
पूर्णः
स वा एष पुरुषविद एव
Sava
स वा
esha
एष पुरुषविद एव
तस्य पुरुषविदताम्
tasya
तस्य
purusha vidatatam.
पुरुषविदताम्
अन्वयम् पुरुषविदः
Anvayam
अन्वयं
purusha
पुरुषविदः
vidataha.
तस्य प्रियमेव शिरः
Tasya
तस्य प्रियमेव
priyameva
शिरः
shiraha.
मोदो दक्षिणः पक्षः
मोदो
Modo
दक्षिणः
dakshina
पक्षः
pakshaha.
प्रमोद उत्तरः पक्षः
प्रमोद
Moda uttara
उत्तरपक्षः
pakshaha.
आनन्द आत्मा
Ananda
आनन्द
atma.
आत्मा
ब्रह्मपुच्छं प्रतिष्ठा
Brahmapushpam
ब्रह्मपुष्पं
pratishtha.
प्रतिष्ठा प्रतिष्ठा
तदप्येष श्लोको भवति
Tadavyesha
तदप्येष
shloko
श्लोको
bhavati.
भवति
So Vijnana Brahma Veda. This is different from the previous discussion which was on upasanas done by devas when they were manusyas in their previous janma. So it's different we should know. The last discussion, the earlier mantra, earlier parts of the Anuvaka was about the upasanas done by devas on Hiranyagarbha, but by devas in their previous Manushya Janma. And this part is about upasanas by Manusyas themselves. So he says, Tacha Vijnanam Brahma Cheta. So if you break that up, Tacha Vijnanam Brahma Cheta. Supposing one meditates upon Hiranyagarbha. So Vijnanam here is equal to Vijanati. Vijanati here is equal to Upasana, doing Upasana, right? So supposing one does Upasana on Hiranyagarbha, then Tasmat Brahmanaha Chet na Pramadyati. So you break up properly. Tasmat Chetana Pramaditi, and you have to supply Brahmana, which means the Upasaka has no negligence. Pramadhyam, right? Upasaka has no negligence. Upasaka is not negligent, and he follows the rule of rules regarding Upasana to Hiranyagarbha. What are the rules regarding daily Upasana to Hiranyagarbha? We saw in Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, Sarveshu Kaleshu and Marana Kale Api, which means he has to follow daily Upasana, including the time when his body is being surrendered, when his body is dying. And now Shankara explains what is meant by Pramadyati. Because Pramadyati normally means being negligent. What does Shankara say? Shankara says this Upasaka, he has to identify with Vijnanamaya, right? Samashti Vijnanamaya, first he has to identify with Vyashti Vijnanamaya, and then he has to shift his identification to Samashti Vijnanamaya. Why Samashti Vijnanamaya? Because Samashti Vijnanamaya is Hiranyagarbha. And therefore, after first meditating upon Vijnanamaya, the individual micro Vijnanamaya, he has to shift his identification to macro Vijnanamaya, thereby achieving the Vyashti Samashti Aikyam. Now, what is the meaning of Pramadyati, being negligent in this particular process? So Shankara says that if you have to focus completely on Vijnanamaya, you must drop the identification on the other three koshas. Annamaya, Pranamaya, and Manomaya. You have to disidentify from. And then identify yourself with Vijnanamaya and Samashti Vijnanamaya. And if he does not do that, if he does the identification with Vyashti Vijnanamaya or Samashti Vijnanamaya, but still has some identification with the other three, then that is Pramadyati. That is the negligence. A very beautiful explanation. And if he does it properly, what will happen? Sharire, pap mano hitva. Right? So, some commentators say that Sharire can be taken as when Shariram is there. Right? So, even while living. So, Sharire Papano Hitva can be taken to mean that this Hiranyagarbha Upasaka, he will be free from all papams while alive and while doing karma. And Shankara says the papams which are due to identification with the body, Sharira Abhimana, they will no longer be there. Why? You have to connect that explanation to Pramadyati's explanation. Pramadyati was what? That he will have no more identification with Annamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha. And when he has no more Abhimana with these three koshas, any papam which arises because of these three koshas will not be there for him. Correct? Are you following the logic? Karana abhave, karyam abhava. When the cause, the three bodies are gone, the product, the papam will not be there. And Shankara gives an example. It's a very nice example, okay? I give Sanskrit portion so that you understand. Chhatrapaya eva ichhapayaha. So Chhatrapaya is Chatri. Chatri is what? Umbrella. Chhatrapaya eva ichhapayaha. So when Chhatrapaya goes away, then Chaya apayaha. Do you understand?
Yes,
Shade
Guruji.
also goes away.
Very good. So Chatri apaya, Chaya apaya. Beautiful explanation. So when the umbrella goes away, the cause of the shade, which is umbrella, it also goes away. Now remember that This is based on the explanation that Sharire means even while living. So, a little Sanskrit grammar over here. There are two possible meanings for Sharire, right? They are all Saptami explanations. Sharire is Adhikarana Saptami is one possible interpretation. Adhikarana means what? Locus. Saptami is the what? What does Saptami mean?
Vibhakti.
Vibhakti. Right. So Sharire is Adhikarana Saptami. Adhikarana means locus. So in this interpretation, the Shariram is the Adhikarana, the locus. And therefore, in the body, all the papams are dropped, left behind in the body because the papams don't belong to it. Right? Because the body has been disidentified with. So it should be taken as the correct meaning should be taken as the Upasaka does not carry a papam burden with him at the time of the death of his physical body. So that is Sharire Adhikarana Saptami. So when the body is gone. And then there is Sharire Sati Saptami. Even when alive in the body. Sati means body being there. So there are two. Sharire Adhikarana means in the body, and Sharire Sati means even while alive in the body. So when the first Adhikarana Saptami is that when the Upasaka leaves his body, he leaves the papams in the physical body. Sharire Adhikarana Saptami. All the papams are in the locus of the body. Therefore, when the body is gone, when the Jivatma leaves the body, he doesn't carry papam with him because the papams are all in the body and the body is being consigned to the flames. Then there is Sharire Sati Saptami. Sharire Sati means even while the body is there. So Upasaka becomes free from papams because of the Upasana even while living. Do you see the difference? All little Sanskrit grammar, but very beautiful portions. And Shankara explains very beautifully. Mhm. Okay. Now, what happens after his death? He will go through Shuklagati. So if you go back to the Moolam, Sarvan Kaman Samashnuta iti. So Samashnuta is Samyak Bhunte. He enjoys. He enjoys what? Sarvan Kama. Sarvan Kama here means all the pleasures available in Brahma Loka are enjoyed by him. Excepting what?
The Brahmanyanam.
Excepting Brahmajnana Moksha. Why? Because remember he goes to Brahma Loka. But because even though he is Brahma Loka, he has not got moksha because he has not jnanam. He has not got jnanam at all. So moksha is not in the ambit of the upasaka because upasaka has been a sakama upasaka. Right? Had he been a nishkama phalam, had it been a nishkama phalam, we have to supply this because the mantra doesn't mention it. Then the phalam would have been chitta shuddhi and he would have gone to Brahmaloka and he would have gone to Brahmaji's classes and he would have got moksha. Do you see the difference? The upasana on Hiranyagarbha can be Sakama upasana, can be Nishkama upasana also. Here we are talking about the Sakama upasaka. What happens to him? He goes to Brahmaloka and he enjoys all the very, very high level of pleasures. But when the punyam is over, he will also come back to this particular Mrityuloka because his punyam is exhausted. His visa, so to say, to Brahmaloka has been exhausted, has expired. But the Nishkama Upasaka, the same Upasana he does, but his Upasana is Nishkama. He has Phalam also, he has Punyam also. He also goes to Brahmaloka, but additionally, he has got Chitta Shuddhi. So he doesn't gravitate to the pleasures of Brahmaloka. What he does is he goes to Brahmaji's classes and he gets jnana and he gets moksha. Right? And iti. Sarvan Kaman Samashnuta Iti. That iti indicates the end of the Rig mantra, which was referred to in Anuvaka number 4 end. Okay. You are saying the structure, right? The last verse, last mantra of the Anuvaka, early Anuvaka, will say there is a Rig mantra in this context. Then the Anuvaka, next Anuvaka begins with the Rig mantra, and when it's like it ends over with the word iti. So here Sarvan, Kaman, Samashruta iti, the Rig mantra is over. Then the Anuvaka continues. So we'll go back to the Moolam. Tasyesha eva sharira atma. Okay. So Eshaha is this what? Vijnanamaya. This Vijnanamaya, Yaha here is Yaha Shariraha, which is in the body, Atma Eva. This Vijnanamaya, which is in the body, indeed the Atma. Right? So, what is being said? We have relegated Manomaya to Anatma. And every Anatma has what? The substratum, the very essence as the Atma. So, we are saying Tasyesha Sharira Atma. The Atma of the Manomaya, which is now Anatma, is this Vijnanamaya. So in the words of Gita, Vijnanamaya is the Dehi and Manomaya is the Deha. Manomaya is the outer container, Vijnanamaya is the inner content. That is what has been said. Okay. Then that's what it means by saying Tasmad va etasmad Vijnanamaya. Okay. Now Anyo Antara Atma Ananda Mayaha. So now he comes to why. Why means in fact, really speaking, Anandamaya Atma. Now he comes to the next one. Anandamaya is the Atma which is Anyaha, different from Antaraha, interior to what? Tasmad, Etasmad, Vijnanamaya. So Tasmad, Etasmad, Vijnanamaya, Anyuntara Atma, Anandamaya. In fact, there is an Atma which is different from Vijnanamaya and interior to Vijnanamaya. So effectively, you are saying that Vijnanamaya is now the container and the content is Anandamaya. Now, the Vijnanamaya is thus being reduced to Anatma, and the Atma of that Anatma Vijnanamaya, Koshaha, is now Anandamaya. And this Anandamaya is Anyaha, different from Vijnanamaya, and Antaraha, interior to Vijnanamaya. And not only that, Eshaha Purnaha Tena. Eshaha, this Vijnanamaya, Tena, by that Anandamaya, Purnaha is filled. This is what I mentioned. The Anandamaya is filled inside the Vijnanamaya. Vijnanamaya, therefore, is the container. Anandamaya is the inner content. And what is the same shape of this Vijnanamaya? The same argument used. Sava Esha Purusha Vida Evaha. This Anandamaya is also Purusha Vidaha in human form. Why? Because Tasya Purusha Vidatam Anvayam Purusha Vidaha. The Anandamaya is of human form. Anu Purusha Vidatam. Anvayam is Anu Ayam Purusha Vidatam. In keeping with this human form. Why? Because it takes the shape of Vijnanamaya. And we have seen this before. Vijnanamaya takes the shape of its content, Manomaya. Manomaya takes the shape of its content, Pranamaya. Pranamaya takes the shape of its content, Anandamaya. Annamaya. And Annamaya has a fixed shape. Therefore, all the koshas finally take the shape of the Annamaya koshaha. Hence, Anandamaya also has shape of Manushaha. It borrows the shape of Vijnanamaya, which is borrowed from the previous ones. The original shape is only Annamaya, right? That's called Swabhavika Akaraha. The original shape, natural shape is of Annamaya. All the others have Agantuka Akaraha, relative shape. Relative meaning borrowed from the original shape. Okay. Now we have to look at the parts. So tasya priyam eva shiraha modo dakshina pakshaha pramod uttara pakshaha. Shankara is now commenting here, saying that Anandamaya consists of Priya, Moda, Pramodaha. And therefore, since it consists of three things, three thoughts, Tasya Priyam Eva Sharaha. Priya is the head, Modaha Dakshina Pakshaha. Moda is the right side, and Pramoda Uttara Pakshaha. Pramoda is the left side. So what we are doing now, what Shruti is doing now, is relegating Anandamaya also to Anatma, to a Koshaha. Hmm. What is the difference between these three, Priya, Moda, Pramoda? So, Priya is defined as Ishta Darshanajam Sukham. The happiness which you feel in your mind out of Ishta Darshanam, out of seeing something which you love. Right? If you see a dear object, that is Priya. That is why many people call their wives Priya, right? Seeing the one whom you love. Then, when that object or person is acquired or becomes yours, Ishta Grahanajam Sukham is Modaha. When the object is acquired or becomes yours, it is called Modaha. And when you enjoy that object, Ishta Anubhavajam Sukham is Pramodaha. So those are three Shastric definitions. Priya is Ishta Darshanajam Sukham. Moda is Ishta Grahanajam Sukham. Pramoda is Ishta Anubhavajam Sukham. These are all pleasures which come and go, arriving and departing happiness. And that is the very word Maya, Ananda Maya. Maya indicates that it's a product, and product will come and go. Okay. Up to here is Ananda. Priya, Moda, Pramoda taken together is Anandamaya. Right. So remember that what are we saying so far? That this Anandamaya is the Atma, but by giving these three Priya, Moda, Pramodaha, you are bifurcating, you're giving parts, right? And therefore, in the next line, mantra says, Ananda Atma Brahma Pucham Pratishtha Tadapyesha Shloko Bhavati. Right? So the Upanishad is now saying Ananda Atma, right? Ananda is the central part. Just give me a second. Yeah. Ananda Atma, Ananda central part. Do you see anything added here or missing over here? In all the early Anuvakas and in this Anuvaka, when they say that this is not the real Atma, there is the suffix Maya. But here he says Ananda Atma, not Ananda Maya. So the suffix Maya, remember, conveys product, vikara, modification. And modification means fluctuation, arrival, departure, change. But here that Maya is missing. And therefore, Shruti is conveying that this Ananda is a non-fluctuating, non-arriving, non-departing Ananda, which is the real Atma. This is the Ananda Swarupa, not the graded Anandamaya. The graded Anandamaya had three grades, Priya, Pramoda, etc. But here there's no grading at all. So this is the non-changing Ananda Swarupa, which I am. And when Shruti says this, that now that you know yourself as Ananda Atma, you have to relegate Anandamaya to Kosha. Because now Ananda is the Atma, Anandamaya has become Anat, becomes Kosha. And Anandamaya, remember, is the place where pleasures are experienced. And therefore, all experienced pleasures are Anat. Therefore, we have seen Karyatva Nishchaya, Namarupa Nishchaya, Mithyartha Nishchaya, and Pravilapanam by relegating Anandamaya Kosha to Anat. Okay, hence, any pleasure which is experienced by us in the mind, remember, is Kosha Ananda because it arrives and departs. Because it's an object of experience, it is Kosha Ananda. The Atma Ananda is something which you cannot experience. Atmananda, also called Brahmananda, cannot be experienced. It can be only understood as yourself. So Ananda, remember, is Atma. Ananda is you. That's what it means. Ananda Atma. Happiness itself, the, the highest happiness, or the happiness principle rather. I won't say highest because that involves grading. The happiness principle, which has no grading at all, and therefore it is you cannot say you're experiencing it. It has to be understood. And therefore, Ananda Atma, you are Atma. And then Brahma Pucham Pratishtha. Brahman is the lower part, Pratishtha, which is the support, the substratum of what not only is it you, Brahman is a support. Brahman is as if the support. And therefore, what we interpret from here is really speaking, this Atmananda is nothing but Brahmananda. So here, when you say Brahma Prucham Pratishtha, the Pratishtha has to be taken as a word meaning Aikyam. Okay. So Brahma Pucham Pratishtha is literal meaning is Brahman is the support of Ananda. Why? Because Ananda Atma. The previous mantra is Ananda Atma. The next mantra is Brahma Pucham Pratishtha. So you're connecting those two. Brahma Ananda Pratishtha. Brahman is the support of Ananda. It is almost like you're saying Brahman is supporting Ananda. Since we know that is not true, you have to take this Pratishtha here as Aikyam. So he's saying Brahman, Atmananda is nothing but Brahmananda. So the word Pratishtha has to mean identical, is the same. Like it's like you say that clay is the support of the pot. What does it mean?
Not
Or gold,
different from the pot.
it means clay pervades the pot. Therefore, pot is nothing but clay. So Brahmananda is the support of Atmananda. Brahmananda pervades Atmananda. Brahmananda is nothing but Atmananda itself. Right?
Uh,
So from that Atma, which is Brahman, creation is born. Okay. Is that much clear? The Aikyam of Atma and Brahma, Atmananda and Brahmananda. Remember that Ananda itself is Atma. Ananda itself is Brahman. So the relationship between Atma and Brahman is just not there. They are identical. So now let us look at the Atmananda and Koshananda. What are the differences? Right? Atma Ananda, which is also Brahma Ananda, and Kosha Ananda, we have to see the differences. Atmananda, Brahmananda is Atma itself. Koshananda is Anatma. Right? So first difference is Anandamaya Kosha is experienced pleasure, experiential pleasure, where Atmananda or Brahmananda cannot be experienced. It is the non-experienceable I. I as in me, right? Non-experienceable you. That is the first difference. The second is that Koshananda is Anatma, subject to fluctuation. Koshananda is Anatma, subject to fluctuation, where Atmananda, Brahmananda is not subject to fluctuation, not varying at all. Therefore, Koshananda is subject to coming and going. Agama apainaha. Atmananda is you, yourself, not subject to coming and going. Right. Whatever I experience is always Koshananda. Whatever you experience, always Koshananda. You can never experience Atmananda because you are Atmananda. Because the experiencer is Atmananda. The experiencer can never experience himself or herself. Therefore, Koshananda is available for experience. Brahmananda, Atmananda is never available for experience. We can take the example of the seeing the mirror in the eye, in the eye in the mirror, right? You can see the reflected eye. You can never see the original eye. The reflected eye comes and goes, depends upon the mirror coming or going. The reflected eye can have gradations depending upon the quality of the reflecting mirror. A high quality mirror will give you a high quality eye reflection. A low quality mirror will give you a low quality eye reflection. So those are the differences. Therefore, by doing this Panchakosha Viveka, what has the teaching been? That I am Satyam Jnanam Ananta Ananta. I am in the nature of Satyam Jnanam Ananta only. And also, Panchakosha Viveka has showed us that Brahman is different from Panchakosha. Brahman is Panchakosha Vilakshana Ananda Swarupaha. And he ends this by saying, Tadapi Esha Shlok Tavati. In this shloka, in this regard, there is another Rig mantra. So just to repeat one small point. In the Panchakosha Viveka, after dealing with each of the koshas, the Upanishad talked about Anyontara Atma. There is another Atma interior to the previous one. Right? So this phrase is in the Moolam. If you check the mantras after Annamaya, after Pranamaya, after Vijnanamaya. So Anyontara Atma means now you have to understand that there is another Atma which is different from and interior to the Atma which we're talking about. But after Anandamaya, Anyontara Atma is not there. The phrase is not there. Right? So there could be a problem. What is the problem? There is a, ideally it should have been there. Should it not have been there?
Yes, because
Yes,
Ananda and
differentiate the
Anandamaya are different.
Ananda, Anandamaya, different. Therefore it should have been there. Therefore there is a Purva Pakshi which is called Vrittikara Matam. He gives the view that Anandamaya is not a kosha because of this particular omission. Because of the fact that Shruti doesn't say Anyontara Atma after Anandamaya, this Vrittikara says that Anandamaya is actually the Atma, not a kosha. Because there is nothing Anyaha and nothing Antaraha, nothing different and nothing interior to Anandamaya. Anandamaya. And it is possible for anybody to make this mistake. All right. Therefore, Shankara clarifies that the original Atma, Ananda Atma, is the Karana Atma, creator. And all the other Atmas are Karya Atmas, products. And the Karyam always has to be resolved into the Karana. Right? And he gives logical reasons. He says, number one, he says, Adhikarat. Adhikarat means because of the context. What is the context here? The discussion is in the portion of the Anuvakas of this particular Upanishad, where the topic being discussed, the context, is the koshas, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Vijnanamaya. And therefore, you have to give the same meaning to Anandamaya also. That is the first meaning, first logical reason he gives. Secondly, he says, in the Anandamaya also, the suffix of Maya is there, which appears in Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya also. Right? And therefore, he says, in Anandamaya also, you have to take the same meaning as Kosha, which was taken for Annamaya, Pranamaya, Vijnanamaya. That is the second reason. The third reason he says is that the Jnani has to identify with Atma. Therefore, he has to drop all the anatmas. Right? And therefore, he has to go beyond all the koshas. And therefore, the last kosha is Anandamaya kosha and has to be included as something which needs to be left behind, something which needs to be relegated to anatma status. And therefore, Anandamaya is anatma. And the fourth reason he gives, which I have already given you, Anandamaya has three components: Priya, and Priyananda, Modananda, and Pramodananda. These are all experiential Ananda, experienced Ananda. And therefore, Anandamaya is Savayavam. Savayavam. Savayavam means with parts. Anandamaya is with parts, whereas Brahman is always Nir-avayavam, without parts. And therefore, Anandamaya is also a kosha. You cannot have Brahman or Atma with parts. And one more thing, Shankara says, Vijnanamaya is karta and therefore associated with karma. Anandamaya is bhokta and therefore associated with karma phalam. Therefore, since all karma is done for the karma phalam, obviously the bhokta, the experiencer of karma phalam, is closer to the atma than the doer of karma phalam. Anyo antara. He is explaining why that anyo antara is not there. You see, in Vijnanamaya, who is a karta, it's very clearly stated that there is something interior and separate from. And though in Anandamaya, which is the bhokta, the experiencer, this is not stated, the karta is close to Atma, but the bhokta must be closer because bhokta is experiencer and you do all karma only for experiencing the phalam. Therefore, bhokta is also an upadhi. Therefore, Anandamaya should be the last innermost upadhi before Atma. Right? And one more point is that Ananda, Ananda Atma, has no gradings. Right? And therefore, it is the Bimbananda itself, the happiness principle. And this is present in the mind, reflected in the mind through Priya, Moda, Pramoda. Priya, Moda, Pramoda, all vrittis belonging to the mind. Right? When you say mind here, be careful because This is not Mano. The vrittis are Sukshma vrittis. And the Sukshma vrittis we have seen before. They appear in which kosha?
Vijnanam.
Manomaya.
No. Sukshma vrittis means a vritti which your mind does not recognize.
Anandamaya.
It appears in Karana Shariram. We have seen this before. All Sukshma vrittis appear in Karana Shariram. Karana Shariram is also called Anandamaya Kosha. Therefore, these Priya, Moda, Pramoda, they appear in the Karana Shariram, the Anandamaya Kosha. And because they are vrittis, they also are anatma and do not have any ananda of their own. Right? Obviously, anatma does not have either chit or ananda of its own. It is always reflected. But these vrittis, they are called, also they are called Shanta vrittis. So, Chatvika vrittis. Remember, no vritti excepting Priya, Moda, Pramoda has the capacity to reflect Ananda. So, because of their extreme fineness, Sukshma quality, this Priya, Moda, Pramoda vrittis, which appear in Karana Shariram, in Anandamaya Kosha, they have the special capacity to act as reflecting medium for Ananda, which no other vritti can have. These three vrittis appear in Anandamaya Kosha. All other vrittis appear in subtle body. Hence, Ananda reflection, Ananda Abhasaha, only these three vrittis can have. These vrittis also have Chidabhasa. In fact, all vrittis have Chidabhasa. For example, a Kama Krodha vritti. It has Chidabhasa, but it doesn't have Ananda Abhasa. Priya, Moda, Pramoda, they have also got Chidabhasa, but they have got Ananda Abhasa because these vrittis are Sattvika vrittis, dominant in Sattva. A very nice point which you have not seen anywhere else. What is the result? That the original Ananda, Atmananda, Bimba Ananda, is experienced in these three vrittis. And because of this reflected Ananda, the vrittis themselves are called Ananda. This is because the original Ananda and the reflected Ananda is a very, very fine point. Okay, we don't see this anywhere else. You have to pay careful attention. The original Ananda, Bimba Ananda, and the reflected Ananda, Pratibimba Ananda, this separation is only in understanding. You cannot separate these two Ananda vrittis, Bimbananda and Pratibimba Ananda, which is vritti. You cannot separate the original and the reflection. The separation is only cognitive. Physical separation is not possible, which gives a very, very important point. If you cannot separate original Ananda and reflected Ananda, is there anything called Vishayananda?
No, ideally same.
What is the answer? If original Ananda and reflected Ananda cannot really be separated, they are the same. Therefore, what you call Vishayananda is a false name. Really speaking, it is only original Ananda. But you falsely label that reflected Ananda as Vishayananda. The label Vishayananda is wrong. It is nothing but reflected Ananda, which is nothing but original Ananda. That is why for a jnani, it is said that Vishayananda is not prohibited because ultimately it is nothing but Bimba Ananda. But you'll say that why does Shastra say that Vishayananda prohibitions are there? That is there only for the sadhaka at the sadhana stage because of the danger of being carried away by that Vishayana from and focus on the sadhana is disturbed. But once you are a jnani, you know that everything is ananda. There is no such thing as Vishayananda itself. That is why the stone, the ananda in the ice cream, sorry, not stone, ananda in the ice cream is nothing but original ananda, which is nothing but you. And therefore, it is not prohibited for a jnani. Jnani has no prohibitions at all. All prohibitions are meant for the sadhaka so that his focus is not disturbed. And he closes by saying, Tadapyesha shloko bhavati. In this context, a ring mantra is there. Okay. Rajani would you please chant Anuvaka number
Acharya ji,
6? Yeah, go ahead.
may
Go
I
ahead.
please ask a question before that, sir? I think you said Bhokta is
Sorry.
closer to the Atma. So exactly, you said the Bhokta is closer to the Atma. How
Yes.
do I understand that?
You have to think of it as interior to Vijnanamaya Kosha. Bhukta is Annamaya Kosha. Shankara is explaining why, even though those words are not there, Anyaha and Antaraha, you should actually mentally put in those words that this Anandamaya Kosha is interior to Vijnanamaya Kosha. And interior to Vijnanamaya Kosha is the Atma, Atma Ananda, the original Atma.
So this interior means more sukshma?
Finer than.
Mm-hmm. Ji, thank you.
Obviously, since Anandamaya Kosha is Anatma, even though it's very, 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 very fine being Karma Shariram, it's still not as fine as original Atma.
Mm. Ji, thank you.
Om sir.
Yeah.
Om sir, I have a question.
Yes, please.
So the Vishaya Ananda and the Atma Ananda, when we get the understanding that they are the same, there is nothing like Vishaya Ananda. That is, but in bodily, in Vyavaharika, we do say that whatever the ice cream or the gulab jamun does give the Vishayananda. So what are we trying to say here, that they are finally only Atmananda? I didn't get that particular part, Acharya.
That part simply says that everything is Brahman, whether you like it or not.
Okay.
Ananda, which you think is from a Vishaya, from your ice cream, is basically coming from you only.
Okay. And okay, finally it's all mithya, of course. Even
Finally,
that.
nothing is there but you.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I will read this again, Acharya. Listen to it again. Yeah.
Is this the reason that it is said always remain in Ananda? Remain happy? Cool state? Does it relate?
So, remain in Ananda means you try to,
Okay.
be happy.
Yeah.
Be happy means that happiness is different from you.
Yeah.
Remain in Ananda, literally speaking, would be in the strict context, is to claim yourself as Ananda, that I am Ananda. It doesn't matter if my mind is not happy. See, that's the idea. There will be times when your mind is not happy, when you're faced with circumstances where you are unhappy. At that point, don't use that as a judgment on yourself. You can simply say, mind is currently passing through a distressed phase, but that doesn't affect me as Ananda. I am Ananda principle itself.
Acharya ji, like Vinita ji said, it's like the same example that the dog feels that the bone, the blood is coming from the bone, but it's actually coming from. Is it the same thing?
Yes, but the dog doesn't know it.
Yeah.
We know it, but that's the difference.
Om sir, we also said, I remember, yatra yatra mano yati tatra tatra samadhya. Is it like that?
That, of course, is the way of saying that wherever the mind goes, if you can learn to focus on that particular object as Brahman, then you are always in perpetual samadhi.
Tatra Tatra Samadhi. Okay.
Sir, I would like to ask one more thing.
Yeah.
Tanmay Mayaji had once said that when you are doing something with full focus, possibly eating like ice cream or doing some work with full focus and enjoying it, it brings you closest to that ananda. Does it relate here? When you are totally into it, that means you are very much close to your Anandamay Kosh or Ananda Atma.
It just means you are focused, that's all. See, if you have to say that I am Brahman, it requires jnana. Irrespective of the fact whether you're enjoying ice cream or not, you should not lose sight of the fact that you are Brahman, which is Atman, with Atmananda, Brahmananda.
And also Brahmananda is effortless, Atmananda is effortless. I don't need to do something to say that I'm in
You need to
Atmananda.
constantly remind yourself. That's
Yes,
After
that
knowing
background Tanpura.
After understanding that, understanding this concept of I am Atma, after understanding that, and when you go through that, is it so?
Please come again.
After understanding that I am Atma, I am Brahma, as you had said, like Vinitaji said, Tanpura is going along. And at that time, the focus, no, then you should be always, whenever it's good or not. Okay, fine. I got my point. Sorry.
I'm saying that if even let us say that you have become a jnani, I'm sure all of you are jnanis by now at least. But are there circumstances in your life when people are irritating you and your mind is upset? And do you ever use that as a judgmental area of judgment and saying that all these years I've studied Vedanta and look at my mind, it's going up and down? Do you ever say that? So don't say that.
Yes.
That is what I'm saying. That when you reach the stage where you are so convinced that you are Brahman, that you accept the fact that the mind will have ups and downs. And don't judge yourself. Don't say my jnanam is not strong. It should not shake your faith, your conviction that you are Brahman. And it is easy for that conviction to shake. I've got many messages from many of you who have passed through difficult times saying the exact same thing. That it all looks very academic when difficult times come. That is the point. Difficult times will come. But your assimilation lies in the fact that during difficult times also, your knowledge that I am Brahman is not shaken. I hope that's clear.
Yes, Acharya.
So let's just start with Anuvaka number 6, Rajniji.
ॐ असन्नेव स भवति असद्ब्रह्मेति वेद चेत् अस्ति ब्रह्मेति चेद्वेद सन्तमेनन्ततो विदुरिति तस्यैष एव शारीर आत्मा यः पूर्वस्य अथातो नु प्रश्नाः उत विद्वानमुल्लोकं प्रेत्य कश्चन गच्छति आहो विद्वानमुल्लोकं प्रेत्य कश्चित् समश्नुता सो कामयत बहुस्यां प्रजा येति सतपोतप्यत सतपस्तप्त्वा इदगुं सर्वमसृजत यदिदं किञ्च तत्सृष्ट्वा तदेवानुप्राविशत तदनुप्रविश्य सच्चत्यच्चाभवत् निरुक्तं च निरुक्तं च निलयनं च निलयनं च विज्ञानं च विज्ञानं च सत्यं च नृतं च सत्यमभवत् यदिदं किञ्च तत्सत्यमित्याचक्षते तदप्येष श्लोको भवति. Thank you.
So I'll just introduce it and then we'll stop. So, Chet. Chet Veda iti. Chet Veda iti. If if Veda iti, if you think, if one thinks Brahma Asat, if one thinks that Brahman is Asat, non-existent, then Saha Bhavati, that person, Asan Eva, he becomes Saha, that person, Asan Eva Bhavati. Asan Eva means one who is Asat Eva, in this case, one who is not religious. So if you think that Brahman is non-existent, you become a non-religious person. Ched Veda iti Brahma asti. But if you, on the other hand, if you think that Brahman is existent, tataha viduhu enam. That's such a person who thinks in this manner that Brahman is existent. Viduhu enam tataha, the wise people, they consider him to be santam, to be a religious person. Iti. With that, vidur iti, the Rigveda ends. Okay. So with this Rigveda, we are entering the sixth Anuvaka. And the Rigveda, as in previous cases, it's a quotation explaining the previous koshas. Right? All the previous cases, when we came to the next Anuvaka, the Rig Mantra was something which explained the previous kosha. But here, there is no kosha, right? Annamaya kosha has been dealt with already. So the Rig Mantra doesn't deal with the Annamaya kosha. It deals with Brahma Pucham Pratishtham, the very substratum itself. And this quotation here, the Rig Mantra, it is discussing one of the problems of the sadhaka, Vedantic student. So this Vedantic student understands Annamaya, he understands Pranamaya, he understands Manomaya, he understands Vijnanamaya, right? In fact, even Anandamaya he understands because Anandamaya is experienced Ananda and everybody has experienced Ananda. So Anandamaya Kosha is known to everybody. But Atmananda, one does not experience. So, and because of the way in which our minds are structured, we are constantly looking for the arrival of Atmananda. Right? Because we say moksha will come. And moksha is Atmananda. So we are constantly looking for its arrival. Now there is a logical fallacy in talking about arrival of Nitya Atmananda. What is the fallacy?
Yes.
No,
Because it is
Doesn't.
It is Nitya. There is no question of arrival. Right? And therefore, if it is Nitya, how can you look to experience that eternity, that eternal Ananda you cannot experience? Why? Because anything that you experience is a thought in the mind. It's a state. Right? And this eternal Ananda is you. And therefore, saying that I want to experience Atmananda is illogical because it is Nitya Atmananda. It is not a state. Right? And then if you say that I'm experiencing Atmananda now, then you're also saying that Atmananda will go away after some time. What is the contradiction? If it is Nitya Atmananda, if it is infinite, how can it come? Where can it come from? And where will it go to? This is the idea. Therefore, anything that comes and goes is classified as Koshananda. Okay, we don't have enough time. We'll stop here. So we will revisit this in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnameva Shishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Shivaya. Thank you for your patience. Om
Om Tat